Hello there. Before we start, I want to show you my flowers. So we went to Trader Joe's and we got these flowers, and these flowers remind me of my Aunt Eunice, who passed away last year. But these flowers remind me of her. So I just wanted to show you because I love them. And they're so pretty. And I love baby's breath. I love the smell of baby's breath. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. Okay. So I want to talk about this phrase that we often say to people looking for financial advice is to live within your means, right? And the idea of that phrase, I understand, and I think it has good intentions. You know what I'm saying? I think I get it. Like, yeah, don't overspend. Whatever you pay for in bills, there should be ideally some margin between your cost of living and like your limit, right? Like how much you make a month and these kinds of things. So I understand the advice. I get it. And I think that it is helpful in some instances. But I think when we're dealing with people who are impoverished or who are experiencing poverty, it is kind of a cruel thing to say to people. And I have a note card because I have thoughts, and I want to make sure that I stay with my thoughts because y'all know I like to meander and journey through my thoughts in real time. But I have some ideas. So the first thing is like, why are these things outside of their means in the first place? When we tell people to live within their means, we're usually talking about like, don't be extravagant and overspend, but we're talking about people getting groceries. We're talking about people trying to experience some joy in their life. We're talking about like basic things, right? No one I know is out there trying to buy a yacht or anything like that. They're just trying to enjoy their life. And so we have to question why these things are outside of people's means in the first place. For example, if I want to eat organic, right, then I can't afford that based on my means. And so therefore you're saying that because I am poor, I don't deserve quality food, right? I'm getting ahead of myself, but like that phrase keeps people from looking at the real problem. The problem isn't that people are living outside of their means. The problem is that people don't have the means to live well, right? And it really feels like we look down from our place of privilege down on people with less privilege and tell them where they can go, what they can do, what they can buy, what they're worthy of. And I feel like that's where we're starting to like go into like dangerous territory, because you cannot save your way to wealth. You know what I'm saying? You can't save your way to fortune. Inflation is a thing, right? And then for people who have limited means, they don't have that much to save anyway, right? So like the problem is not the means. The problem is the fact that things are so daggone expensive and inaccessible in the first place. And the truth of the matter is, mostly no one is living within their means. A lot of things that we have to get in this country and in the West and other places have to be bought with credit. I'm only speaking as an American because that's my context, okay? But I know here, most of us who are living in houses, who are driving vehicles, we are living beyond our means, right? Because we have to get a loan, which shows us that the problem is not us. It's that the thing is too expensive in the first place. Even this idea of like giving financial advice when people say like, oh, you shouldn't be renting, you should be buying, right? As in like buying a house, right? But first you have to qualify for the house. It's a whole thing. It's a whole process. You know what I'm saying? And then hope that you can make the payments. But the truth is that even though, yes, at the end of you paying for 30, 40, whatever years, however many years, you know, Lord willing, you don't have to like refinance or things like that. The house will be yours technically, right? But low key, we're all kind of renting. I mean, people who have houses, they're kind of like leasing to own, right? Because if you default on that payment, what's going to happen? The house is going to be taken. If you default on a payment for your car, for example, they're going to repossess that joint, right? So we really are just leasing things with the feeling of ownership, but it's not really ownership. And then if you buy the house, right, and then you know, you don't pay your taxes, like I mentioned before in a previous video, you don't pay your taxes, they take your home. Nothing is really secure. Or if they decide, I'm going to put a highway through your neighborhood, which has happened multiple times, right? They're going to take your property and your home and displace you with no resources, no resources, by the way. And so like not enough resources to like relocate to a place that is good and healthy. So like, I think it's just very interesting that we have these answers to financial problems while we are still yet in our own financial problem, right? But we're just doing things in a way that is more acceptable and respected. We say to people not to go in debt and, you know, don't spend above what you already have, but we go in debt all the time. People with credit cards go in debt all the time. They just use that debt for their benefit, right? They vilify people with limited means using debt to live and survive and to have fun and to take risks and to start businesses. But if you're wealthy, it's fine. So I'm going to talk about this. So when my husband and I first got married, we both had student loan debt, and so we both found Dave Ramsey. And for those who don't know, he's a financial expert. And I put that in quotes because whatever. He's a financial expert. He's well respected in his field. That's fine. But I realized that trying to follow his baby steps, right? He has like these baby steps. I don't know them all. However, like it's basically like pay off your debt by any means necessary. That's like the first step. Is like saving like $1,000 and maybe paying off your debt, right? So mind you, $1,000 is not enough for an emergency anymore. So let's start there. So you have to make enough money to save $1,000 to move on to the next step. That's hard when you have limited resources. Then the idea is if and when you reach the $1,000, or even if you before then, you're supposed to shrink your life even more. So he has a common phrase that he says about like, we're going to eat rice and beans and rice until we pay off this debt. Okay. Dave Ramsey is a man who filed bankruptcy, I think multiple times, right? But now he's like lauded as this like financial expert and guru. And this is why I say it's in quotes, right? Because he almost stumbled well and stumbled to his success. And so what that shows me is that if you are white, if you are wealthy or seen as like wealthy or well-to-do, you're allowed to take more risks. You're allowed to make stupid decisions. You're allowed to fail and come back again. We see what's happening with the election. That's a prime example. People who are wealthy, white men specifically, like they're allowed to fail and flail through life and be a failure financially, and then come back and then have a platform telling people how to get rich or how to get financially free at least, right? Isn't that interesting? But then like when people who are experiencing poverty or don't have the means that Dave Ramsey might have or the clout that he has, right? Because I don't know how much money that man got in his bank account. He could have $0. But because he is Dave Ramsey, people are going to give him more grace, right? And this is not a knock on the work that he has done because he has helped people, right? But I also see how harmful that program was, and it was harmful to us because we were living in poverty. We were living in poverty, trying to follow the baby steps, trying to be responsible. And it just made life so miserable. It made life so hard. It made it so, the first couple of years of our marriage, we didn't really do much. You know what I'm saying? Because we're like, no, we need to, get rid of the student loan debt. And now my thoughts about that have changed. I'm no longer doing the baby step program. I think it's a great idea, but there are just some things that I have to like reckon with. But either way, my point in bringing up Dave Ramsey is like, he is a man that didn't follow those steps to get wealthy. He's a man that didn't follow those steps to get wealthy. And now we use his content to shame people who make dumb decisions financially, or just like uninformed decisions or ill-informed decisions, or people who just don't know any better because they keep financial language away from people who are experiencing poverty to keep them in poverty because they need poverty to make people wealthy, right? Like, so all these things are tied together. But it just really showed me like the hypocrisy and how we look at people who have limited means as criminal, as like criminal children. Like that's how we look at them. We tell them what they can buy. There was a whole discourse about like a person buying lobster and like fancy things and like, you're not supposed to buy that with EBT. Why not? I don't see the problem. That's their food. They want to eat that. That's fine. I have no problem. And also like people are mad that people who can't afford these things by themselves use help to buy these things. But that's what the help is for, to buy the things that you want to buy, right? Like there's no like there are limitations and they follow the rules. And so if they're following the rules, what's the problem, right? The problem is that we don't like to see poor people happy. We think poor people have not paid their debt to society to be wealthy and to experience joyful things in their lives. Like that's what it feels like. Back to my notes. So like I said, we look down from our place of privilege and tell people what they can and what they can't do, what they do and what they don't deserve, right? Because we know what's going on. And the whole time we're just leasing to own like everybody else, okay? Next. The next thing I wrote down is, why are we not mad at corporations that don't live within their means? We're always telling individuals to live within their means, and these corporations don't. Every year, the corporations get greedier and greedier, more underhanded, more seedy, right? Trying to find more resources. A lot of the resources that they're selling back to us are stolen. So if you have to steal something, you probably don't have the means to buy it or the means to like negotiate it or whatever needs to happen to get it done, right? So they do it underhandedly. You feel me? So like the reason why they do things in an evil way is because they don't have the means to do it. They have to use money or power, right? Or subjugation or war or famine. They have to create lack so that they can come in and save the day and make money. This is all that capitalism does. It incentivizes people to create more problems so that more people can create solutions, half-baked solutions, not even quality solutions, so that people can keep making money. Right? And so it seems to me that y'all are not living within your means. We could talk about the country. I don't want to do that though, but because y'all already know, we are in debt. America is trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars in debt. I don't want to hear nothing about nobody living outside of their means. When you are living outside of your means and it starts to like impose and encroach on other people's means, that's a problem, right? Because that's greed. That's how you get poor people in the first place. Greed, right? But like if a person is living with what they got and they're comfortable with, I don't have no problem, honey. Do your thing, okay? Do it would make you well. And that brings me to my next point. I'm skipping ahead, but living within your means is expensive long term. Living within your means, telling people to live within their means is very expensive, right? Let's break it down, okay? Live within your means. There was a point in my life where I can only eat noodles. I every day I had a cup of noodles. This was at lunch. A cup of noodles, a naked fruit juice, and at the time I think at Target they were like $2 or something like that. A naked fruit juice because I thought we'll get there, but I thought that I'm gonna splurge on this naked fruit juice because it has vegetables and fruits in it, and this is my only like supplement of vegetables and fruits for the day, right? Because I'm poor. So I would eat a naked fruit juice, I would eat a cup noodle, and then later on, 2 cup noodles and a naked fruit juice and a Snickers. Because protein, nuts, peanuts, right? Buying a bag of peanuts was more expensive than buying a Snickers. Anywho, so that was my logic. I am not a nutritionist. Please do not do what I did, right? If I had kept on that track of eating like that, I would be sick. First of all, there's so much sugar in a naked fruit juice and I had no idea, right? And that's a whole other conversation. Basically how they sell you the illusion of health, right? Because it's like, there's 2,500 strawberries in here. And you don't even consider like there's no fiber in this juice, right? But also like, when would you ever sit down and eat 25 strawberries? Again, I'm whatever. But anyway, so my point is if I had kept down that track, I would have had high blood pressure probably because I'm already like predisposed. Like my parents, my grandparents, and my great grandmother all had heart conditions, right? So I'm trying to get ahead of those things. Not my mother, I'm sorry, my grandmother and my grandfather and my great grandmother. Heart conditions, lung issues, what else? Blood pressure, diabetes, these kinds of things, right? That are very common in Black families. So because of that, right? And I'm also eating sugar, like the noodles were starch, sugar, the fruit juice, sugar, sodium from the salt, right? Snickers, sugar, right? And so I'm thinking I'm living within my means. I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to like pay off bills. I'm trying to, because at that time I also had to buy a new car. And so like, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to pay down debt. And I feel like I'm spiraling because I feel like I'm being punished for being poor. I remember I bought, my first car was a 1995 Geo Prism. On the way driving that home, it broke down because the radiator was too high. Like it was too hot. It had cracked. And so that was me living within my means. I was driving on a cracked radiator. I never got my tires rotated. I never got my brakes replaced because I couldn't afford it. But I also needed a car to get back and forth to work. So what happened? My car died. And then I had to buy a new car. Go with me, I'm going, right? So then I had to buy another car. It was a 2005 Ford Taurus, right? When I drove the car off the lot, the car started to accelerate by itself. The transmission was screwed. It was just jacked. It was just messed up, right? And they sold me a lemon. And so now, because I was trying to live within my means and not buy anything new, and I'm trying to be like fiscally responsible and conservative, it cost me more money because I had to get the whole transmission replaced. What is my point? My point is, when we tell people to live within their means, what we're telling them to do is to push off more debt in the future. Sacrifice now so that you can sacrifice later in the future, right? Had I kept eating like that, I would have had high medical bills. Who knows if I would have been disabled? Who knows, right? Like telling people to live within their means, my point is like, it's so cruel because it costs so much to live within your means. When you live within your means, you can't get the good stuff. You can't get the quality things, the clothes that you wear, right? And because the clothes are so expensive, the quality ones, and the poor folks like myself have to buy clothes from like H&M or Target. Or Target is actually kind of expensive now, but you know, these kinds of fast fashion places, right? It's polluting the earth. It's polluting the earth. If I could afford to get clothes that were quality, I wouldn't have to go shopping so much, right? And so then you might want to buy an outfit that altogether might be like $120, right? For quality. Instead, you buy the shirt for 20, you buy the pants for 20, but then they shrink or they rip because it's cheaply made. And then you have to go buy another pair of pants and then buy another pair of shorts. We're at this point, $80. That rips and shrink. Then you have to go do it again. That's $120, right? So you see over time, poor folks are actually taxed more because they are poor, right? And so I said living within your means is expensive long term. Your health, it's expensive to your health. It's expensive to like repeat buys. And also it diminishes your quality of life. When I was doing a Dave Ramsey thing, I was so depressed. I was so sad. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. And even the fun, free things that I enjoyed, they started to make people like pay for them, right? Like, so if you want to go to a park, you can no longer just go to a park. You got to pay to go to the park. Like everything is costing something. And so to tell poor folks to live within their means while you get to go, like just imagine how cruel that is. You're enjoying yourself because you feel like you're established and you're fine. And low-key, you're living in debt too, which is, again, I'm not judging you, but you got to stop judging other people, okay? Because we're all leasing to own, hoping to own. And some of us will never own, even though we are leasing, right? So you see a family over the fence, they're throwing Frisbee, having a cookout, eating lobster and crabs, and you're trying your best just to get along and enjoy life. And they look at you and police you because that's what we're doing. We are the enforcers of that oppression. They police you and tell you, you're not allowed to experience joy. You're not allowed to eat the good thing. You're not allowed to have quality things. You have to always buy the things that always break and rip, right? When I bought my Ford Taurus, even after I got the transmission fixed, there was still always something wrong with it. Until one day, something happened with the fuel injector. I don't know cars, but something happened with the fuel injector. I just know it was expensive, okay? And I literally had to be like, I can't do this anymore. And then what did I do? I bought another car trying to live within my means, and that car had issues. That car would literally turn off while I'm driving. It was a Chevy Spark? It doesn't matter. It does matter because I want to let y'all know not to buy it. But it wasn't a Spark. It was a Chevy. When I think of it, I'll write it in the description. But it was a beater, even though we were paying premium prices for it. And that's what's been happening, especially during COVID. I don't know if y'all have noticed. When we went to go buy a car, this was 2021, because our car was obviously just like dying, okay? It was just like dramatically dying on the highway, especially when we ran the air. And we went to the dealership, I think we went to CarMax or something, and I asked the guy, like, why are these basic model cars so expensive? I think we were looking at like a basic like Ford Focus or something. We no longer buy Fords. This is not a Ford house anymore, okay? Because Ford has left me out there stranded multiple times. So no Fords, no Chevys. So, but then even that is a privilege, right? We'll get to that. And so if you're not buying a Ford or Chevy, you're probably paying more prices. You're paying more money probably for the car, but it's quality, because it's expensive to be stranded on the road. It's expensive to have your car just shut off. It's expensive to get it repaired. It's expensive to live within your means. And so we were on the lot. I was asking the guy why these cars were so expensive. The guy basically said, because of production, because of COVID, we've had to inflate the prices. Artificially, by the way. It's not like the cars are worth more. They just weren't selling enough cars. They weren't selling enough cars, so they were making us make up for the difference of the money they were losing. Same thing with apartments. We were looking for an apartment for like 2 years and could not find one, right? Because they were inflating the prices. A lot of the apartments in the area that I live in, the prices went up because people weren't paying their rent because they got laid off during COVID, right? And so they're trying to make us make up for the difference. But don't they teach you in business that like it pays to do business? And we have more grace for businesses that are living outside of their means. We have more grace for them than individuals just trying to survive. We make all the excuses in the world for awful people to defend our right to be able to one day lord over people and look down on people with our privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like we're on our high horse, so to speak. We want to be on our high horse so that we get to look down on people. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense to me, besides brainwashing, because we're brainwashed to defend people and companies and organizations that harm us. That's literally like the foundation of how things get done. But then also, like, a lot of y'all, I realize that a lot of y'all just want your time in the sun. You're actually not like dedicated or committed to people being free. You want your time to lord over people. And that's another conversation for another day. And we will have that conversation. But these companies don't need defending. You know what happens when a company is struggling? They take out loans. They ask for forgiveness from the government, right? Like, that's what happens. What happens when a person files bankruptcy? They lose everything. They have to start over. And it's so hard to start over as an individual. So yes, my point is, living within your means is expensive long term. It's a cruel thing to say to someone, especially experiencing poverty. You know what? I love seeing people in poverty living the good life. During COVID, there were a lot of people, and I am not a financial expert, nor am I, listen, this is Alicia speaking, okay? This is my personal opinion. You can disagree. But I loved seeing people who were poor during COVID getting money from unemployment and living their best life. I loved that because they got to finally see how much, $400 a month difference makes in your life. An extra $400 a month allows you to breathe and experience joy and pleasure. And there is a benefit to people experiencing joy and pleasure. They are a pleasure to be around. You make people miserable, you get crime, you get violence, you get hatred. There's a cost to making people miserable in this country. And it's also, by making us miserable, misery is profitable. By making us miserable, we keep buying things, we keep defending things, we keep putting our hope in things that keep failing us, right? Like, they need us miserable to mine us of the energy, of the support. That's what they need. They're doing this stuff on purpose. Yeah, and my question was, like, why are these things gate kept in the first place? Why are these resources gate kept? Why can't a person who is poor eat crabs? And all this, also, a lot of the food that are delicacies now were not delicacies back in the day. Yeah, so back to my notes. Why are we not mad at corporations that don't live within their means? Why are we not mad at this country who doesn't live within their means? This country literally goes over to other people's lands and take what is not theirs. Where do we get off on telling anybody to live within their means? Where do we do that? We are hypocrites, right? Yes. Okay. And the only reason why you have greed and lack is because someone took too much. If there are people who are impoverished, it is because people are greedy. And if people are greedy, they're living without their means, right? Like, they are taking more than what they need and causing suffering for other people. Yes. So like I said, Dave Ramsey filed bankruptcy and he's a millionaire at this point. And but the thing is, like, I don't have no problem with people trying. I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with is that poor people are not allowed to try. When poor people want to take a risk, when poor people want to start a business, when poor people want to follow their dream, what are they told? Not right now. Not right now. You need to live within your means. Be realistic, right? Meanwhile, millionaires and billionaires get to live the most unrealistic lives. Like, they are the ones living in an unreal world, in an unreal reality where there are no consequences for their actions of greed and power. Like, where their actions to acquire power are cheered on, while poor people are just trying to survive and live a good life. You feel me? So yeah, and he's a millionaire now, which, if the thing is, like, I feel like there'd be so many beautiful things in the world if poor people were allowed to fail without being dragged, or if poor people were allowed to stumble through life. Like, poor people who are experiencing poverty, like myself, are always looked at like deplorables. Like, they're looked at as people, like, to step on, to step over, right? To overcome, to not be like, to separate from, as opposed to, like, sovereign beings with dreams and goals and ambitions and something beautiful to give to this world. And we won't get their gift because they're always discouraged from taking risks. Because when you are poor, it is riskier to take a risk. Everything is expensive when you're poor. Everything is expensive. Choice, opportunity is expensive. Everything is riding on this one thing, because it can utterly destroy you if it fails. That's not fair. It's not fair. It's not wisdom. But even the people who have money, right? They have the illusion of money, the illusion of wealth, because they present a certain way. You know, I was watching a documentary about a lot of other billionaires and millionaires and how some of them didn't even have money. But because of who they were funded. They were funded because of who they were, not because of what they have or the success that they've had, but because of how they look and appear, who they know, right? And so it would be a lie to say that the wealthy people, they got it right. That's not true. That's not true. I said in my notes, I said people who are experiencing poverty can't afford to live within their means and be healthy. They can't live within their means and be well. They can't live within their means and be joyous and at peace and respected. Because the thing is, y'all tell people to live within their means all the time, but then you talk about people who go outside wearing bonnets. You tell people to live within their means all the time, but then when they're going outside in clothes that don't look well put together in your mind, you tell them that they look ghetto, that they look trashy. Are we going to be for real right now? Like, we're not real. Like, we can't be serious. We can't be serious. We hate the look of poverty. And we literally make whole judgments about people's character, people we don't know. Whole judgments of their character based on how they look. To say that how you look doesn't matter is a lie. It matters a lot, because y'all got a lot to say about how people look. A lot. A lot. You can't afford to be impoverished, and like, you can't afford to live within your means when you are poor and have good grades. Because where's the focus coming from? If you don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, how are you going to study well? If you don't know, if you don't know what your meal is going to consist of tonight, how are you going to be able to play sports? How do you know that you'll be able to replenish the energy you give out playing sports or writing a paper? Like, it takes energy to do those things. And if you don't have energy coming in, you will be depleted. You won't be able to pay attention. You won't be able to focus. Have you ever tried doing anything when you're hungry? For those of us with privilege, when you're hungry and you could just like go to the cabinet and get a snack, or go to the store or go to a restaurant or whatever. When you don't have access to stuff like that, you have to be very choosy about what you give your energy to. You can't give everything your energy because you don't have energy. I know, from running off of sugar and caffeine, working three jobs. I know that life. You don't have energy for anything, energy for joy. You don't, like, there are things that we need as people that some people who don't have money can't afford. Community. We need community. We need places to gather. In a lot of poor communities, there's nowhere to gather. There's nowhere to share wisdom or stories or wealth or knowledge. There's nowhere to gather, but also we don't have time. And whose house are we going over? Who can sustain feeding 10 people to come over? Like, poor people pay the tax. Poor people pay the tax that wealthy people or people who we assume are wealthy, or people who can code switch well, or people who can, maneuver in certain environments, right? Like, they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay. Yes. So I said, I want to share that we are policemen. We police people and their bodies and tell them what they do deserve, what they don't deserve, what they can do, where they can't go. This is as far as you can go. You can't experience the lobster. You can't have the crab and be respected by me. Number one, who says that your respect is necessary for them to be respected? Just because you want to be disrespectful? Like, the thing is, like, when people say things like, oh, I can't respect X, Y, and Z, it's like you were looking for a reason not to respect them in the first place. And I'm not talking about people who are criminally taking something from someone, assaulting someone. I'm trying to be careful with my language. But, like, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people judging other people. I lost my point. Okay, yes. I'm talking about people telling other people that, oh, if you wanted my respect, you have to show up this way. No, that's not how respect works. And also, like, they don't need your permission to be respected. We think too highly of our opinions about people. We think too highly of ourselves. Like, we can do some humility in that department. We can come down from our high horses of privilege and be like, because you are human, I respect you. Because you are kin, I respect you. That's why one of my ethics is to treat people like reflections of God, period. Doesn't matter. I don't care about your background. I don't care how much money you got in the bank. I don't care what you're wearing. You are a person. And you deserve my respect, period. Now, if you disrespect me, that's a different conversation. I can respectfully remove myself, right? But to say that a person doesn't deserve respect because of the decisions that they make in their life that have nothing to do with me, by the way, my opinion is not necessary. It's not needed. You feel me? Anyway, so yes, but if you're looking to disrespect people because they are living without their means, or not living in a way that you approve of, again, like, this goes back to the way that we think of people as property and the way that we think of people as slaves. I don't know how else to say that. We think that we have the authority to determine whether or not someone is worthy or deserving of respect in the first place, or a good quality of life. Like, that money means anything. Money is made up. Money is monopoly money. It's made up. It's something that we give value, that we all determine as humans has value. You understand? And so, like, to me, people's value is not based off of money. That is so silly. It's so cheap. Money is so cheap. They are valuable because they exist. And that's also how I feel about the plants. That's also how I feel about animals. That's how I feel about the earth. It was here long before I got here. It deserves respect. It's housing me. It's supporting me. It's loving me. Why wouldn't I love it back? We are all on a group project together in this world. Why wouldn't I love you back? That don't make no sense. Yes, I said misery is profitable, and y'all love poor people being miserable. Misery is profitable. And only some people, we think that we have to earn our way, indentured servitude. We have to earn our way out of misery that they create. This economy is something they created. They created it so that other people don't have. You understand? They created it so that the powerful people are the people with the money. They're intertwined. They're entangled, right? Like, the people with the power are the people with the money. The people with the money are the people with the power. They're the people that can lobby. They're the people that, they're the people that have the time and the resources to get things done that poor people don't have the time to get done because they're exhausted, overworked, and they're probably at work right now. You feel me? So yes. So I say, let poor people have nice things. Let poor people have quality things. Let poor people have good things, because you cannot save your way to wealth. We like to pretend, and I think it's just something we say because I don't know, we don't think about it. We say a lot of things we don't think about, to be fair. But, like, we try to come up with a reason why there are people who are experiencing poverty. Oh, it's because you're not living within your means. Oh, it's because you made this dumb decision. Oh, it's because blah, blah, blah. And no, those are none of the reasons. The reason why people are in poverty is that poverty exists in the first place. That's the reason why people are in poverty. People don't have to be in poverty. They don't. It's made up. It's a made up prison, where people are thrown in to create capital. They are the capital, right? Like, we are the capital. Shout out to Stephanie Perry when we had a conversation on her channel. Y'all thinking y'all are capitalists. You are the capital. It's you. They're making money off of you. I need y'all to understand that. You are their capital. You are their cash cows. And the more miserable they can make you, the more money they can get from you. Yes, but you can't save your way to wealth, right? You can't save your way to wealth. And also, poor people deserve nice things. Unapologetically. If you pay a mortgage, you can't tell people that they can't go into debt. That's crazy. If you paying a car note, you can't tell people, and even if you're not, mind your business, right? Poor people, I promise you, what poor people don't need, I promise you what poor people don't need is you coming in telling them what they can and cannot do. You don't think that they're already afraid, that they're already living in survival. A lot of people who are impoverished are already living in survival. They already have anxiety, okay? And they've had the conversations with themselves 1,000 times over about how they deserve to have the lobster this week because they worked really hard this week. And nobody said thank you. And people spat in their face. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they want to have lobster tonight. They want to have crabs. Mind your business. They're not taking the crabs from you. But what I've also realized, and here we go. It's not on the notes, but here we go. What I've also realized is that people love the idea of exclusivity. People love the idea of being able to have an exclusive experience because it makes them feel big and powerful. When you can do something, that's how people sell you things, right? Luxury items. Some of them are really good, but some of them are being sold because people love the idea of having something that other people, regular lay people, cannot have access to. And so seeing someone enjoying what we have assumed to be luxurious eating, and I'm not trying to come for nobody who eat lobsters. My aunt does not eat lobster because she says they're cockroaches. She's not lying. They're crustaceans. She's not lying. Crabs, shrimp, lobster, they're all bottom feeders, and they all have their part to play in this ecosystem, right? And so we thank them, we honor them. But also, y'all eating bugs. And we have decided to give more wealth to one thing than another thing. Things are only expensive because of exclusivity. So anyway, so you're mad at people having shrimp and lobster and crab because you feel like you did something to earn it and they didn't. They're getting assistance. How dare they get something that I worked hard to get? You could have had it too, right? And also, like, we should be mad at the corporations who make lobster so expensive. Like, the people that you have problem with are not the poor people on stamps. They're not the people who are getting government assistance. They're not those people. Why are we mad that people are asking for help when they need help? Why is that enraging? Because we bought into this idea that you can work your way out of that. We bought into this idea. I'm trying to figure out what I want to say because I have so many ideas for so many. I'm gonna say it. We bought into this idea that we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We bought into this individualist thinking that, oh, if I do all the right things and I deserve, and if that person is poor, then they did not do all the right things. We make a moral judgment on people because of their, like, based on where they are financially. That's what we do. We say who is worthy of love and care and kindness and attention and support and who is not, right? Because Dave Ramsey, like I said, is a millionaire and filed bankruptcy. What do you think that is? Except government assistance. Are we okay? Like, that is government assistance, but we have put government assistance in a caste system where, like, or in a class system, I should say. It's caste and class, like, they kind of work hand in hand, but like there's classes, there's levels to what is appropriate and what's not. You can't be poor and ask for help, because how dare you ask for help when there are millionaires that exist and they work so hard, whole time they filed bankruptcy, whole time they exploited people for their labor, whole time they stole resources, right? No one is self-made. No one. All of us are connected. All of us are supported by all of us. And to say that one is undeserving is to say that we are all undeserving. To say that one is deserving is to say that we are all deserving. We just don't have to, I promise y'all, if you're watching my video, you probably don't belong to, like, the upper class. I'm sorry. Like, you probably are just like me. You're either middle class or you're, like, lower class or working class, right? Or working poor. Like, we don't have to do the work for them for free. We are enforcing we are enforcing oppression for free when we say things like that. We are policemen working for free. We are enforcers and enslavers working for free when we deny people joy and access to things that are nice in quality. There are people who get paid to do that. You're not getting paid. You can't afford to do it. But again, a lot of us, because we say things like pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, but we know that's not true because we step on people to elevate ourselves. We constantly step on people to elevate ourselves. At least I'm not like that person. Oop, let me step up. Oh no, I'm not poor like you. Oop, I did the right thing. Nope, I have a mortgage. You have a rent. Oop, like, what? Girl, we're all just trying to live. We're all just trying to live. And some stupid people made money. You know what I'm saying? And now we all are fighting for our lives, jumping on each other, trying to grab some paper so that we can survive. Let people have nice things and mind your business. Mind your business. Let people have nice things. It might not be the financially responsible thing, but I'm also not for being financially responsible all the time. Shock. I'm not, because what? You get one life. You get one life. And there are so many people who have delayed their joy because they felt like they weren't deserving or worthy of it. There are people who make really good money who delay their own joy because they still feel like I haven't reached wherever it is. Like, I can envy someone making 70 grand a year. There's somebody making 70 grand a year who's like, when I make 150 grand a year, then it'll be enough. There's somebody who makes 150 grand a year who's saying, when I make 300 grand, oh, then I'll be good. It's a lie. You'll never be good. We have to learn contentment and finding joy where we are. And if you want to use a credit card to go on vacation, do it. Do it. That's my financial advice. Okay, I'm not no financial advisor. I don't have no business. Okay, you can't come for me. But like, honestly, life is too short. And like we say this all the time, but it honestly, to delay joy, it's sad that joy costs this much in the first place. It's sad that quality living and quality housing costs this much in the first place. We demonize people who live in places that are impoverished, but then we also tell them to live within their means, and that's what they can afford. So what are we talking about? It never ends. It never ends, and y'all are never satisfied. First of all, we're not even satisfied with ourselves. We're constantly striving for more. We never feel safe. And I understand why, because we're not safe. We live in a very unsafe environment. But I promise you, what people don't need on top of that feeling unsafe and insecure is your judgment. No one asked you. To be quite honest, no one asked you. But because we see people as property, especially poor people, because we see them as something, as children, what is the word? It's like we have this very like paternalistic view of people who are experiencing poverty. Like we know what's best when we are struggling and drowning ourselves. Hello. You know, we are most people are either one or a few emergencies away from being out on the street for filing for bankruptcy. And we have the nerve to tell people what they do and don't deserve. How dare we? Shame on us. Shame on us for telling other people what they can and cannot do. Shame on us for thinking that we have the authority to tell people what they do and don't deserve. Shame on us for calling people lower class and treating them as such because they don't have what we have. Shame on us. Shame on us. Stop telling people to live within their means. Because you can't live within your means and live out inflation and greed. You can't save your way to wealth. What I wish Dave Ramsey would teach is how to make more money. This is what I mean when I feel like there's some sort of like insidious thing like running beneath all of this, because like if you really want people to be free, they have to do what you did. You had to file bankruptcy. Like you had to do a lot of things to get to where you are. And now from your high horse, you're looking down and telling people what they should and should not do, and then shaming them. I hate watching that show. Shaming people for making mistakes that they didn't know they were making, for trying to look the part, because we know that if people look the part, we respect them more. Like we gotta be realistic. We gotta be real. Life is hard already. Inflation is out of control. And people are just trying to do the best they can with what they got. That's it. They don't need more judgment from us, who are also struggling. Okay? So that's all I wanted to say is telling people to live within their means is actually kind of cruel. I love my flowers. And I love you. And I hope that you're loving yourself and loving each other and being gracious with each other and celebrating each other choosing joy. Okay? Because it's not our fault that lobster costs so daggone much in the first place. It's not our fault that organic things and food without pesticides that are good for our bodies are out of reach because it's too expensive. It's not our fault that they made a market out of illnesses and death. That's not our fault. Let people have good things. Let people live a good life. You know what I mean? So anyway, that was some bad advice from me. But I hope that you can hear the heart in what I'm saying. And just live your life. Do the best that you can, because we're all just doing the best that we can. Okay? I see you. I honor you. I respect you. I love you. Love yourself. Love each other. And I'll talk to you all in the next video.